Hello, Steve. Hello, Joe. It's time to game classy.
Very good. Yeah, so our connection is good this time.
It sounds much better this time, so I'm thinking it's going to be fine.
Very good. Very good.
Yes. So, Steve, we have I'm going to give you two choices on what you want to talk about first today on this episode of Game Classy, the best worst gaming podcast out there. You have two choices. We could either talk about Warhammer Day or whatever they called it, the bullshit that they do out in England, where it's just basically come buy our shit at a place that makes it more expensive. Or we could talk about some good old fashioned strike breaking, or I shouldn't say strike breaking, some good old fashioned Pinkerton.
I guess let's start with Pinkertons.
I figured you'd want to start with the Pinkertons.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't want to say recently because it was like a couple of years ago, but I did somewhat recently play Red Dead Redemption 2. So yes. I've had my fair share of dealings with the Pinkertons, you know.
So just when you thought that WotC couldn't put their foot more in their mouth or
get more egg on their face,
put their head way more up their ass, since the D&D debacle, as I call it, they have decided to basically call out one of the nation's most hated institutions on a player. You want to take it from here, Steve?
Yeah. I mean, the long and short is this guy he essentially got a box of Aftermath by mistake.
Aftermath is
the whole situation of this is brought about because of the naming. So Magic recently had a set called March of the Machines. And the March of the Machines is exactly. And March of the Machine was their I don't know. You actually might even remember, but do you? Because they're super old. But do you remember the Phyrexians from Magic?
No, I'm not a big Magic player.
I know, but I know you played Magic way back when, and the Phyrexians were there at the start. So like it might have been something you remembered. Anyway,
okay. No.
So Phyrexians are they were the penultimate villain for this arc of the Magic storyline. So they released a set called March of the Machine, which is like the final battle between various blah blah blahs and the
good versus evil.
Sort of. The Phyrexians basically are like the Borg. They're like actually, you know what? They're like if you took the Tyranids and the Borg and mushed them together, that's the Phyrexians.
Isn't that just the bad guys from Mass Effect?
I mean, they're kind of somewhat same vibe, but the Reapers turn everyone into a slurry instead of actually changing, because the Phyrexians will turn you into the Phyrexians will assimilate you. The Reapers from Mass Effect just turn you into a protein slurry.
Delicious protein slurry.
Delicious protein slurry. So anyway, they released a set called March of the Machines, and blah blah blah. But because this is a huge story arc thing, they were like, hey, we're gonna do something different with this set. So they decided that they released a supplemental small follow-up set, which is not something they've done before. But they named it March of the Machine Aftermath. So there's a big thing on the box that says March of the Machine, but then under that it just says the Aftermath. So someone clearly accidentally shipped that guy a box of collector booster boxes for March of the Machine Aftermath when they meant to send him a collector box for March of the Machine, because March of the Machine is, released. Aftermath comes out next week. So Aftermath is not even out yet. And so this happened, 2 weeks ago? A week? Or
it was about a week ago, I think. Or I don't know.
It was a week or two ago. So this is
time has no meaning. Yes,
this is true. But I mean, we're talking it's a month. It's a month ahead of time, give or take, on Aftermath. And this guy opened a box of collector boosters on YouTube. Now, first of all, this guy was acting like he didn't know what the fuck he had, which is absolute bullshit. His name was MTG Vintage or some shit. He knew exactly what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah,
so he is not in the right here. Yeah. I want to throw that out there. He should not have done it.
That's important to really hit, is that As much as we hate the big corporate thing, we also know that like he should have known better.
Right.
Or
like,
he did know better. He did know better.
Yeah, he knew better than to do this, like 100%. Now, WotC definitely had an overreaction because they hired the private detective agency, the fucking Pinkertons, to go after this guy to investigate the situation.
They're not really called Pinkertons anymore. I believe that they're called Pink Water.
No,
or maybe they're still called the Pinkertons.
No,
I don't know.
It is. So here's what they're not called anymore: detective agency.
Okay.
They used to be called Pinkerton Detective Agency. Now the company's literally just called Pinkerton.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they sent they set a private detective firm, like I mean the private detective firm, after this guy.
For our non-Americans who listen to this podcast, because I know we have a lot, I just want to point out that the Pinkerton Detective Agency, quotation marks, is one of the most hated institutions in American labor. Basically, after they stopped being a detective agency, their whole thing is they basically are just anti-union. Like they're hired to destroy unions from the inside, stop labor movements from forming, disrupt protests or strikes. They are awful on every level.
Yeah, they're not just a big company of private detectives,
No.
like they try to present themselves as.
Yeah, they originally got hired to like spy on union, like to be a detective and spy and find out trash about union leaders and stuff in the 1800s.
Right.
They would, I think the big one was the was it the Homestead strikes? Yeah, it was like I'm a bad union guy because I can't remember all the details on it, and I'm sure I'd find out. I could figure it out on it.
I apologize. I'm a casual union fan.
Yeah, I'm a casual union fan. Yeah, I think that there was like during the Homestead strike, I think it had to do with Carnegie Steel. I'm not 100% positive on it, but they sent a ton of agents and they basically disrupted, and a bunch of people got killed.
As citizens of Chicago, we deeply apologize for the Pinkerton Detection Agency.
Yeah. I mean, they're not. Oh, I mean, yes, they were founded in Chicago, but they're more of like I think they're a DC thing now. I think that's where they're operating out of.
I think they're actually operating out of Michigan now.
Oh, is it Michigan? Oh,
yeah.
Yep, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Hey,
yeah. They're awful, and no one should like them or want to work for them. Anyway, continue, Steve. I apologize.
Yes, they are bad guys. Rest assured. So Wizards hired him to seize the products from the YouTuber. And so I guess they supposedly, Wizards said that they tried to contact the individual in private with no response. Which I mean I believe, because like I said, this dude knew exactly what the fuck he was doing, so he was probably like, I can say people have an intrinsic need to hide when they're in trouble. No matter what, like even if hiding is the absolute worst idea you can do, like or hiding will make it worse, like guaranteed. So he probably realized, or not realized, he was like, as soon as he saw a notice from them, I'm sure he was like, fuck. Like, I don't know what to do. So he just didn't do anything. And then eventually they sent the Pinkertons after him. So, I mean, not justifying the use of Pinkertons, but yeah. So apparently the Pinkertons, like they did the Pinkerton thing. They said that, we'll arrest you. You're going to be detained, fined, jailed, blah, 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 and it's just like, and like this dude didn't know doesn't know what the fuck he's talking. Like yes. the guy, like, if you're threatened by the Pinkertons and you don't know, you're like, fucking A, man. People need to learn their fucking rights in this country. God damn.
I mean, seriously, if like a Pinkerton agent said, like, you're going to get arrested for owning this magic card set, I'd just be like, fuck you.
Yeah, I'd be like, get the fuck out of my house, you piece of shit. Out of my house. Yeah, like get out of my house before I put holes in you. Now leave. Yes. Yeah. So like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of like shenanigans, but yeah. So like, it was a gross overreaction. Like, I mean, also too, like, you've been in the media over and over and over about like all these like just high profile face plants you've been doing. Why? Oh, why would you hire the fucking Pinkertons of all things to do this? Like that is like, oof, that's rough. Also, also like let's also throw this out there. Like you can't do that. Like you can't, like as a company, you can't go in and like they literally hired this company to steal a legally purchased commercial good from a private citizen.
Yeah.
Like that is fucked up because like they can't actually do that. Like that's the whole thing. Like that's not legal. They literally stole. So like this guy probably has a court case against them at this point, I would assume. So I guess we'll see what happens.
I mean, I would not say it was legally purchased. It was accidentally sent. He did exchange money for goods. The goods were shipped incorrectly. It was a completely wrong thing on Wizards of the Coast end. If Wizards of the Coast was smart, they would have done two things. They would have done exactly what GW does, where it's like, well, we did an oopsie. We sent out this thing ahead of time, like what they did with Dante when Dante got spoiled. They would have been like, you know what? Here's the actual, set, spoil a little bit of it so that they could like save a little face, take the guy and say, hey, look, send us the set back. We're going to send you, take down the video, send your set back, and we're going to give you X, Y, and Z. Right? That would have, you know what that would have done? Engendered goodwill towards a company. It wouldn't have cost them anything. And it would have been fine. Like they probably didn't if they contacted him, they probably were like, you better give this back, you little piece of shit. Otherwise we're gonna send the Pinkertons after you.
Yeah, well, no, I'm sure if their escalation response was to go to, the Pinkertons, I'm sure there was they probably did not phrase their initial emails or initial contacts in a little friendly manner,
Yeah. Well, and actually, and I was reading up in 2017, they actually sent out the Pinkertons beforehand, but that was when something was actually stolen.
Now that is a completely different scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a completely different scenario. So like we're gonna not, that one that sounds like, okay, like that sounds like fair play, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing that sucks overall, Steve. Here's the thing that sucks overall is that they're still going to print money from printing Magic cards. People are still going to play Magic. People are still going to play D&D. And there's not going to be any sort of repercussion for Wizards of the Coast whatsoever.
I mean, there'll be repercussions on social media. There's lots of Pinkerton shit posting.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
No, it'll be gone.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like when people say like they got lambasted on the social media, that means nothing. That means nothing to a corporation. They don't care. I
mean, like if like here's the thing. I'll just throw this out there. Like it's not quite the same, but like this is why I always laugh at people when they say like cancel culture exists. It's like you can't cancel people. It's literally impossible. Like the only way like someone can quote unquote be canceled is when they're dead. Yeah. Like there's you can look at every shitbag out there, everyone you think, every social media personality who did some bullshit, and you're like, oh no, fuck, that guy is a huge piece of shit, like blah blah blah. You cannot cancel them. You cannot. I mean, look at like Poopty Pie for a perfect example. Like that guy used slurs on stream and was quote unquote canceled. He's currently sitting at 111 million subscribers on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, the dude was just so canceled.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't cancel people. Like a fucking Pro Jared, he was grooming that underage fan or whatever. Or that may or may not be accurate. I don't know. I've heard so many conflicting things about that. But
I don't know whatever you're talking about.
All I know, he's another YouTuber, and I've seen his penis unwillingly. So, so that's like basically like a whole bunch of shit came out with that guy. There was a bunch of drama / maybe actually true, not true, I don't fucking know, whatever. He was also quote unquote canceled, sitting plenty of money, subscribers on YouTube. Like that's it. You can't cancel people. You can't cancel you can't even cancel people. Like if you think you can't, like if you can't cancel people, do you really think you have a shot against a corporation?
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. Like, it's impossible. You can't do it. Like the worst case scenario is they'll be like, oops, sorry. Or it'll be like Facebook where they're like, which is like, hey, we did this society destroying thing that's going to have repercussions until the end of humanity. Whoopsie. All right, well, you're fined. Oh, okay. It's a huge fine, 300 million. Oh, okay. To Facebook, that's like if I find Joe his spare change in his couch.
Ooh, my couch. There's probably a lot of spare change in my couch, actually.
Well, I'm gonna fine you for it. Now, how is that gonna impact your life?
Well, since I have children, that spare change will be covered in Cheetos and milk.
So there you go. So I guess in the end, it's impacting your life in a positive way because I'm getting rid of garbage and possible biohazards from your house.
Yeah. Well, the biohazards are actually my children, so
yeah.
But yeah, so it's very stupid. All they did was make themselves look bad on yet another thing that they've done wrong.
Yeah, it's like, man, they are just taking L's left and right.
Yeah. So there is that. So just remember that next time you're buying your Dungeons and Dragons book or your Magic the Gathering cards, it is you are funding basically a organization that funds another terrorist organization, a completely legal terrorist organization, but a terror organization. Yay! Yeah, I mean, if this guy knew his rights, like when the Pinkertons came, like he would have filmed it and put it on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
However, the Pinkertons probably would have just bombed his house, in all honesty, because they're an awful organization.
Maybe. Yeah, who knows? Who knows what
Anyway, let's get to some positive news, shall we?
Let's go.
Maybe I should save this. I'm gonna put it in a small thing before we actually go into the Warhammer Fest. So on the Discord, someone mentioned that there is a new Warzone Kickstarter coming out.
Yeah. Warzone eternally renewed.
Eternally renewed. Now, when I saw this Warzone Eternal, I think it's done by the same people who did the first one. I remember going like, oh shit, another Warzone Kickstarter. But then, you know what I found out? You know who's doing the minis for it?
Who?
Titan Forge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All
and
right, the minis are gonna look good then.
The minis look amazing. Actually, they are a really good mix of that first edition chunky Hero Hammer style and Titan Forge style, which is, like a bigger sculpt to it. So I know nothing about the game. However, the minis look amazing. So keep that in mind.
And the Kickstarter is successful. Just throw that out there too.
Well, of course it's going to be successful. It's a Warzone. It keeps getting.
No, the last one didn't. The last one wasn't successful.
The last one wasn't successful.
No, it didn't happen.
Oh,
okay. So this is not a different company.
This is a company.
Yeah, this is a Redux. This is their second attempt at Warzone.
Oh, okay.
I see now. So that's what this is. This is the same company, Resnova. So this was okay. So this is the same company that did the previous Warzone. Warzone Eternal, same one. Yeah. So the original version was not very successful, and yeah, actually you just look. The minis are so much better this time around.
And I remember, I want to say that when we talked about this last year, we actually liked the minis a little bit. I remember because they
weren't bad.
They looked a lot like the second and the first edition of
very retro. Yeah,
very retro.
Yes. So like they weren't bad. They were just very retro looking.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it looks like it looks like they've just redone this from the ground up. Although an interesting note, they don't seem to have the bad guys in this Kickstarter.
The dark whatever they're called.
The Necron, they're not Necrons.
No, they're like the
Legionnaires. Legion. I don't know. They're like they're the chaos. They're the chaos stand-in.
Yeah. The chaos stand-in.
They're the chaos. I mean, that's what they are.
Yeah. No, I know what you're meaning. I know.
Yeah. This game was a 40K ripoff, wasn't it?
Yeah, a complete 40K ripoff.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's cool. It's a good ripoff, but I didn't think, or maybe they do.
I don't know if you'd call it a 40K ripoff because I don't think 40K was popular enough to be ripped off. But it's definitely it's definitely inspired by the same things that inspired 40K. Let's put it that way.
Oh, my bad. They do have the Legionnaires. They were an unlock, so they're really far down on the Kickstarter page.
Oh yeah, Dark Legion is what they were called.
Dark Legion. Yeah, so they do have those guys. They're very, very far down on the Kickstarter page because they were unlocked as an add-on.
Yeah,
but the prices are really good. Most of the units are like $30-$35, which is, that's early 2000s GW unit pricing.
I mean, for 5 guys, that's about right nowadays. Christ.
And yeah, I mean, it looks cool. I mean, I like it.
I mean, wasn't that one of the comments on the Discord where it's like,
what killed Warhammer Fantasy?
What killed Warhammer Fantasy? How about $60 for half a unit?
Yeah, it's not wrong. That, like I said, the size of the size of fantasy armies is what led to that game dying. Like, no question, because it was just too big. It was too much. Like, that is where it got to the point where it was so like a basic arm. Like we've talked about all the time. Or like, I mean, we talk about cost all the time. Like, this is a luxury hobby. So like, obviously people are going to complain about the price and buy it anyway because it's a fucking luxury item. Like, if you're not like, you're never going to complain about the price of a Warhammer model if you can't afford Warhammer models. Yeah. Right. So
it's the same in any like hobby, really. Like, you have people who are into fly fishing complain about the price of flies.
Yeah. Well, fly fishing is, goddamn, dude. You think Warhammer's expensive? Fishing. Holy fuck. But anyway, so like I've talked about this before, but there's like the concepts of cheap, expensive, and then like if a game has expensive armies, like, example, Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar has, I would argue, Age of Sigmar has an army that would fit any budget. Like, there's Stormcast. There are small, few figures. So that's bang for your buck there. Several others. But like, you could have an absolutely gigantic Night Goblin army. And that army is going to be way, way, way more expensive than a Stormcast army, obviously, because you need to buy a lot more to field it. The problem is Warhammer Fantasy turned into a Horde army was the default. So Horde army pricing has historically always been way higher because it's a fucking Horde. You're buying double, triple, quadruple the amount of boxes that other players are getting. Even when you're getting more figures, you still just need way more boxes. So that became the standard for fantasy, where every army was equivalent to a Horde army. So like, I'm not gonna pay $1,000 to just field a basic Empire army.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, and it would probably be about $1,000 nowadays army in nowadays prices for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah. The idea of cheap, expensive for sure. The only problem with games that are cheaper, like let's say this new Warzone, is that you got to find someone to play with. That's the thing. So that becomes a difficult part.
That's why I'm a huge fan of simple games, because if you have it all, you can just have someone over to play and you can just teach them how to play it, and it's not going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
That's why one of the reasons I love the Duke. Anyone can play the Duke. If you can play checkers, you can play the Duke.
Oh wow, you haven't mentioned the Duke on the cast. I remember the Duke from 20 years ago.
The game's great. It's so good. It's so good.
Do you have your they always have those weird little expansions from like, here's your expansion for Robin Hood.
Oh yeah, they did kind of stopped doing that. What they did is they just do like they just do all inclusive boxes now. Oh, so they made the base boxes just bigger, and it just has the contents of expansions. As far as I know, anyway. I don't know. I guess they if the new versions might still have expansions, but I have the King's edition or whatever, which is it's got it's the original plus the King Arthur stuff.
Oh, the King Arthur. That's what it is. King Arthur.
King Arthur. No, there's also a Robin Hood expansion too.
Oh, is there? Okay, so I wasn't wrong on that one.
Yeah, no, yeah. So it's the cool thing is you can actually take your set of Duke tiles and play against a different set's Duke tiles, which is pretty cool. So you can have like the Ronin. I think I don't know if they hit the stretch goal to do the Ronin set, but so if they do the Ronin set, you can have the samurai versus King Arthur, which is kind of cool.
But can you make slightly racist accents while doing the Ronin stuff?
I mean, I think anyone can do that at any time.
Okay, just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly within anyone's power. I don't think you should do that, but you certainly could.
You think you won this time, Guy Jin?
Call me Shogun.
However, the Shogun seems to have won. Dice roll. Yeah, that's the Duke.
The Duke.
All right, so let's
fan.
So I don't necessarily say back Warzone Eternal, but the minis look great because
the minis look sweet. Go for it.
I absolutely adore Titan Forge's minis.
I think the game will be simple enough. It'll probably be an easy one to play. Like even if you have a couple forces, just have a buddy over, beer pretzels, play some Warzone.
Yeah, there you go.
It should work.
But I mean, it's funny to me because I was just like, why are they doing this again? And I was like, oh, Titan Forge did the minis, because I absolutely adore Titan Forge's Patreons.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're fantastic sets. And one of the best things is they're like Titans of Adventure, which is their D&D kind of packs that they have with every month.
Oh, you mentioned that before, yeah.
Where you get like 3 or 4 figures. It's just like a standard D&D class and race. And they've been doing it for years at this point. So there's probably about 100 of them that you could just pick from. They're all nice big sculpts that look nice or sculpted nice and fit the aesthetic. And they also have lately been switching out that you could switch out weapons with them. However, I'm not a WYSIWYG player for D&D. So if you're, half elf bard has a long sword and the figure does not, I'm not going to cry about it.
Man, I couldn't imagine how bad it would be to try and play with someone who's a WYSIWYG D&D player.
I mean, you are absolutely right. That would just be miserable at any level.
That would be like unbelievably bad.
Yes, I should send you their latest stuff for the month because they did some Stormcast stuff that looks pretty fun.
Ooh,
Stormcastese stuff. I don't know what they called it, but I'll shoot it to you after the cast, or maybe I'll put it up on the
Discord
printing one. Yeah, on the Discord.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Warhammer Fest. Warhammer.
Yeah, where they had the Golden Demon.
Yes. So they did Warhammer Fest happened, and from everything I hear, it was either amazing or it was the worst piece of shit on the planet.
Yeah, it does not. There does not seem to be a consensus on this one.
So we used to do Games Days here in Chicago all the time, every year.
Mm-hmm.
And Games Day was always, there was reservation tables where you would go and play on very specifically made tables.
Mm-hmm.
There was usually a tournament, like a grand tournament going on. I think that was like the main thing, is it was people would go for the grand tournament and they would go for Golden Demon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they would do both of those, and the grand tournaments were always terribly run, if I remember correctly. No one ever liked the grand tournaments that were done at Games Day. They were just really
pretty sure. Yeah.
And that's why you'd have stuff like Adepticon happen, because they were like, we're just going to run our own tournament with blackjack and hookers. And it was always 1,000 times better than what you would do, which is ironic because it was always GW people who would run Adepticon or Vegas Open or any of those. They were all ex-GW employees or current GW employees who are like, we're just going to do a better tournament.
Yes.
So that's essentially what happened in the UK for Warhammer Fest. It was like, we're going to do a Golden Demon. We're going to do a tournament, a poorly run tournament. That's at least what I heard from people. And we're going to do a bunch of previews. And they did release a bunch of previews.
They certainly did. A bunch of exciting previews, mind you.
What's that?
I said a bunch of exciting previews.
You think they're exciting? I did not. I thought they were relatively bland.
Oh, man. No, I'm hyped.
You're hyped?
I'm hyped.
So, yeah, they did a bunch of stuff for, the new 40K stuff. Yeah, oh, here's what the box set's gonna be. Here's all the new Tyranid stuff. They previewed a bunch of that stuff. The Tyranid stuff looks fine. I'm not gonna say it's bad. It just looks like Tyranid stuff. It's nothing special to me.
Oh wait, never mind. I'm still thinking of the previous fest, the one where they revealed the giant gore grunt, the one from April. I'm still thinking of that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they did the one from Adepticon.
Yes, yeah. I apologize. The previews at Adepticon were great. The previews at the UK one were eh.
Yeah, I mean no, they did the gore grunt at UK. That's where they did that one. Yeah, at the UK one. I know it all kind of blends in together after a while.
Eh.
Yeah, this was mostly all about 40K, which I understand. That's their new big release. They showed off all the stuff that's going to be in the box set for the Tyranids, for the Space Marines. They're really weird about the new Terminators because they're like, hey, these are old school Terminators, but everything's moving to Primaris. But Primaris can go in these old school Terminator outfits, and people are like, why, how, what? And they're like, magic. And then the Pinkertons came and beat up someone. So that's what they released there. They showed off what's going to be in the Leviathan box set, which is, I think, funny is that they're doing this big thing for the Dark Angels, right? Like the Dark Angels are getting Lionel Johnson back. They're doing all this stuff, but yet the box set, all Ultramarines. I'm like,
hey, if you're gonna do it, so obviously, yeah, the Ultramarines are the poster boys, or whatever. But I will say, if you're gonna do Tyranids as the Xenos, it really would feel weird to do Dark Angels versus Tyranids.
You know why they're doing Ultramarines and Tyranids?
Ooh, because that's the classic matchup, right?
No.
Oh, you gotta. I'm ready.
Oh,
Space Marine 2.
Space Marine 2. Good guess.
Yeah. No,
that's what I'm
sense.
assuming is that people are gonna play Space Marine 2 and they're gonna be like, "This is awesome. Can I find these in toy form?" And then they're going to type in, Space Marine toy, and then the box set will come up and they'll be like, "Bleh!" And then they're going to get the box and they're going to like, I have to assemble this with my hands like a baby.
It's like a baby's toy.
Baby's toy. They're not even painted. Do I have to paint these while they're on the sprues?
Oh, man.
So I just like, I think back to like, I'm going to get a pair of nail clippers to clip these off the sprue. One of my mom's emery boards that she uses to do her nails. And then I'm going to buy some crackling glue from what is it? Walgreens. I'm going to buy one of those little tubes of super glue that have the little screw on tip.
God, I hate that. I hate how true this is.
Yeah. And then they put it all together, and then because that glue sucks so bad that it's like you see all of that white frosting all on the joints.
Ugh.
And then what they're going to do is they're going to paint using apple barrel paints directly onto the model with no primer or nothing like that. And then they're going to get mad that it doesn't look good. So there's that. I just described everybody's first hobby experience.
Yeah, luckily mine was not like that. I was already a somewhat experienced modeler, which is why I was interested in Warhammer in the first place anyway.
No, I practiced a little bit on some Battlemaster stuff, but mostly my first army was Wood Elves. So
yeah, was your first? So like, I mean, that's interesting because like my first hobby was nothing to do with games. It was just regular ass model kits.
My first hobby was suppressing everything nerdy about myself because I came from a part of Chicago where if you liked anything nerdy, you'd get beat up.
Sorry, I meant hobby as in like, what I wanted to do, not what I had to do.
Oh, no, I wasn't allowed to do anything I wanted to do. So
very good.
I had to hide in the basement. No, it was I never really did. So I did some models, but nothing too crazy.
Okay, yeah, I had tons of. I was super into models, and I'd already and I didn't get blown out thinking I had to use the tester's model car paint on minis because I was getting into vinyl model kits and they required primer and you couldn't use the tester's paint. So I already was used to acrylic as well. So I didn't have that horrifying thing where the kid brings in his figure that has like no primer on it and has just been painted, well, quote unquote painted with that tester's glossy like chrome paint. Woo!
Well, you couldn't do it because once you opened up that testers and you reclosed it, the entire bottle would be welded shut.
That's true. You only get one chance.
You get one shot.
You get one shot with
your testers paint, because otherwise it's like you have to get two pairs of plumber vice grips to basically wrench that thing open again without shattering the bottle. God, how is testers still in business?
Knees sweaty, arms spaghetti.
Yeah. All right. So then they there's some other stuff that they previewed. New executioners for Weird Hollow, the Shadespire, which I'm still calling it Shadespire. Those models are actually pretty cool looking. I like those quite a bit.
Yeah, they are sweet. Yeah.
I like a lot of the stuff that they do with the new undead in Age of Sigmar. I think it's very, very simple and very, very effective.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I think that the design of
I'm a really big fan.
a lot of except for the Bone Reapers, because I don't like the Bone Reapers, and I think I've been on record saying I don't like the Bone Reapers.
Yes, you have been on record saying you don't like the Bone Reapers.
I think they look too cartoony, but I like that a lot of I
like that about them.
Well,
I like it. They really make me feel that like we've said it before, but that like factions like the Bone Reapers really, really give me the He-Man vibes, like we've talked about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just don't like the sculpts. That's the difference. And it's mainly just a aesthetic thing.
Man, I really like their giant like alligator like war machine thing with the fucking spike hands.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy's cool.
I just think that the ghosts and a lot of that stuff that they've done, and the
Night Haunt? The Night Haunt are incredible. They're
Night
so
Haunt
good.
And the vampires all look really dynamic. They look really well done. They look very unique. So that's why I really absolutely adore them.
Yeah,
All right.
No, I feel it.
All right, I'm going to end it here, and then we'll come back in just a second. All right. So, yes, next thing up was the what was the Cities of Sigmar stuff. I was thinking that they were going to do a big Cities of Sigmar like preview. I thought that was like going to be the next big preview that they were going to do.
They're so drip feeding the Cities of Sigmar.
They showed the knights, which they called something,
I think Cavaliers or something like that. Yeah, I don't know.
They're like the Paladiers of Crustacea or something like that. I don't know.
They look really cool. I like them a lot.
They look just like Reichsguard models is what they look like.
Yeah,
which I like. I like that.
Yeah, so that's a compliment.
I thought that they were going to be showing about how they can use them in both Age of Sigmar and Old World, but they didn't do that. There was no other major releases, but I think you know what they kind of really look like, though? They look like models from Conquest.
Oh yeah, they do.
I think that they're very, very Conquest, kind of like dark fantasy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is not saying much. I mean, dark fantasy is all over the place nowadays. It's
oh sure, yeah. No, I would not like. It's not a direct inspiration. It's a genre. It's a genre take. Yeah.
So dark fantasy is anything that pretty much comes out of Dark Souls or whatever they're calling that genre.
I think it is called dark fantasy.
Is it just dark fantasy? Okay.
Yeah.
You would know more than I would because I don't play those video games. Like Blood Soul games.
That's the collective nomenclature for that is Soulsborne.
Soulsborne. Okay.
Yes, because it's the Dark Souls series plus the Bloodborne game.
Why don't they call Dark Blood series? That sounds better than Soulsborne. Whoever came up with that is an idiot.
I don't know, dude. I actually hate the term Soulsborne.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. Like it's like is the game Dark Souls? Okay, it's Dark Souls. Is the game Bloodborne? Okay, it's Bloodborne. Like they're not they're all made by FromSoft and they're somewhat similar, but like fucking A, they're not. It's not just an amalgam. But I don't know. People want to link fucking everything to everything now. And
you got to have a franchise, Steve. You got to have a franchise.
Yeah, it's got. Well, no, it can't. No, it's like more than a fucking franchise at this point. It's like you got to have some sort of like amorphous fucking blob of every media. Every media has to be.
People need something connected. Which to define their lives and their existence by is basically what it is. It's
okay, fine. It's like that's not even my thing. My thing is it's like not every fucking thing has to be connected, and that like change has like rotted people's fucking brains.
Yeah, I mean what it is more than anything is that people need to have something that defines their existence. Because their jobs are just work a day, they don't find fulfillment in their, fantasy, in a family fantasy. But you have to say I am a Star Wars fan, and they define their existence by being a Star Wars fan or a Marvel fan or a sports fan. It's like how they define who they are.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's like, that's why it's like they have to have Bloodborne in a dark Soulsborne. You have to have Soulsborne. It's like, I define who I am by the Soulsborne. So I'm going to buy the resin statues. I'm going to have the mini game on my bookshelf. I know I'm calling out a lot of our listeners on this, and if this is you, re-examine a tiny bit of what you're doing. But it's not worth branding your life with a brand,
Unless it's your own brand,
Yeah.
which is cool.
yeah. The Game Classy brand, 2 fingers.
Well,
Finger
that's our brand. That's not their
That's-
brand.
That's our brand. Yeah,
That's
our
not their
brand is worthless.
Hey, all brands should be worthless.
Yes, all brands should be worthless. Yes, but anyway, getting back to the figures, they do look pretty good. I really like the sculpts. I think that they're I like the size. I like the chunkiness. I like that there are actually horses now in Age of Sigmar. Which I think is great. I think that's great.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Cities of Sigmar. It's probably a faction I'll end up picking up some stuff for.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you could reuse it in Old World.
Yes, yeah,
But
for
let's
sure.
just talk about Old World. They I thought for sure that Fest this year was going to be an announcement on Old World. Like,
I would agree if not for the fact that 40K.
the 40K stuff just got dropped. I agree. So they finally showed 2 new figures specifically for Old World.
Oh, yes, they did.
Yes, and Steve is orgasming because they did show a Tomb King, Tomb King.
Yes.
And it looks like a Tomb King.
It looks fantastic.
It looks like a Tomb King.
Yes, which is exactly what it should look like.
And they released a Bretonnian on foot, which is completely counter to everything that Bretonnians we have known. And I like how they backtrack it. Like, there used to be a Bretonnian virtue where you could take a knight on foot and he could lead the peasants. This one obscure thing from the 6th edition book that only Joe remembers because he's still holding on to his 6th edition books with his dear life.
Hey, I remember that too because that was how you had to use a Bretonnian lord in the Corridors of Corn rules.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because you couldn't have it because you couldn't be mounted. No mounts allowed in the Corridors of Corn.
No mounts allowed.
Yeah. So there you go.
I do like that you pulled that into an even more obscure game. God, I hated Corridors of Corn. I hated because no one knew how to run Corridors of Corn. You never let the players win.
I knew how to run it. Damn
I know. But you would only people who knew how to run it should have run it because people who don't know how to run it would lose immediately and then the person would win the game. And it's like, stop letting people win.
It's true. It's true.
So anyway, I was more interested in what they talked about with Old World. So some of the things that they said that I found were interesting is they are re-releasing the old kits, like I said. But they said they were making some new kits. But we'll see on that one. We'll see how much are the new kits. Like, because we know that they're going to be releasing armies for Kislev. We know that they're going to be doing what was the other one that they said they're doing? Nippon. No, not Nippon. Cathay. The other non-distinct Asian culture, because they finally want to break into China is what they're trying to do. Like they released the Tau so that they get into the Japanese market, and now they're releasing Cathay to get into the Chinese market. Remember Games Day Japan?
Wow. Yeah, I do actually.
It was like they only did that a couple years.
Yeah.
There was some nice stuff that came out of there.
There was, yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised by the Warhammer scene in Japan. It's kind of strong.
Is it? Well,
it is. It really is. It's kind of strong. They play smaller games.
Japanese love toys.
This is true.
They especially love model kits.
Also true.
And you know what? They love being stereotyped by a white guy sitting in his basement.
I mean, it's not a stereotype. It's their market. It literally is.
So they're re-releasing the old kits. Which means they're re-releasing all of the old Tomb Kings.
Yeah, I think they're going to re-release. I think they're going to go targeted I mean, this is just my pure fucking speculation. Is that I think they're gonna do like updated. So like Tomb Kings, I'll use Tomb Kings for example. They're Skeleton Warriors. They're gonna do an updated sculpt for the Skeleton Warriors. They'll just re-release the old Tomb Guard because the old Tomb Guard had a recent sculpt. The Sepulchral Stalkers, the snake dudes, they'll just re-release those boxes.
Yeah, they may. So in my head, anything that was like a resin unit is probably going to get an update.
Yeah, plastic for sure.
Plastic. So like the Upshapti will probably get a plastic kit. Maybe.
Oh man, that could be yeah. No, that's probably like that would be an incredible kit. To be really good. Hopefully they make them good this time because they've never been good.
No, and they're really cool looking too.
Amazing looking
never
models.
been good.
Never been good in the game.
No, you're correct on that. So they are releasing a bunch of that's what they said they're doing. A bunch of new kits, a bunch of old kits and some new kits.
Mhm.
I'm assuming most of the Bretonnian army is going to be re-released because those models are actually fairly good still.
Yeah,
With the exception of maybe some of the medals need to get re-released, like
yeah, they would need to fix their medals because there's a lot of medals, like the Grail Knights, the Questing Knights. They used to have a shit ton of metal cav.
What I'm assuming they'll do maybe is what they should do. Okay, let me do some speculation on what they should do. They should just release the plastic Bretonnian kit with a sprue upgrade for Questing Knights. Or not questing with Questing Knights, and Grail Knights.
Mhm.
Yeah,
that would work.
So they'll do just a one sprue kind of addition that you could kind of just upgrade your figures to, so now they can have a great weapon and a goofy backpack.
Sure, yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm hearing. And they also said, which I thought was interesting, is that all of your 8th edition armies will still be good. So that shocks me in two ways. One, they think that people still have 8th edition armies that they didn't burn on YouTube to protest.
I think they meant factions. I think they were implying factions, not literal 8th edition armies.
The way that they said it, yes, I think what it means is builds. So like you have built your 8th edition army, all of the figures that you use to build your 8th edition army will still be good, is what I'm hearing in my head.
Right. Yeah, and if you had a Lizardmen army and you're like, wow, will the Lizardmen even be in Old World? Like that's a legit question because they've said nothing about Lizardmen,
Yeah.
This confirms that, hey, Lizardmen will be usable in Old World.
Yeah. So, what I'm hearing is that, I have my my Tomb Kings army and it has a War Sphinx in it. Will the War Sphinx still be good? Yes, the War Sphinx will still be good. That's what
also
I'm hearing in my head.
that too.
Yeah. So that's what I heard in my head when it was going on, was that, so I built my 8th edition army. All of those units that were in 8th edition fantasy will be in the Old World. Which doesn't make sense because I believe in the time that the Old World is taking place, Empire didn't even have a steam tank.
I'm guessing that they are gonna do that though.
Yeah.
I think they are gonna not have steam tanks for the Empire, and they're not gonna have like the end. Like obviously, like they're not gonna have the end time stuff in Old World.
No. Well, so there's two factions that I'm wondering if they're gonna bring into the Old World. One, I would probably say it's a 75% chance of making into the Old World, and that's Chaos Dwarves.
Okay, that was something I didn't think about. Did Chaos Dwarves have official rules in 8th edition?
Yes, they had them. Well, depends on your term, 8th edition and rules, because they did have an army list through Forge World and
then yes, they did. That counts. That counts.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so then there's gonna be Chaos Dwarves in Old World.
But I don't know how much they take that as like a legit army for 8th edition. You got to remember, like, there's some British guy going, "No, mate, that was Forge World. It's not an official Games Workshop army."
No, I don't think they're going to be foolish enough to ignore the popularity of Chaos Dwarves.
Well, I saw the new Chaos Dwarf army, and I'm rather chuffed at the way they look.
Plus, you know what else they probably don't want to ignore? The dollars they can get from releasing a plastic Chaos Dwarves army.
Yeah, here's my thing: is they would do it because they have Total War.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Total War has Chaos Dwarves. Chaos Dwarves are a very popular army for Total War, apparently.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know, but yes, they are. That's where they get the money. But one thing we haven't mentioned yet about the Tomb Kings figure, and I don't know if you can pull it up. is that it looks like it has a giant golden penis.
Oh shit! I gotta see this now. I gotta pull this.
Once
up now.
you see it, you're going to be like, "Holy shit! That Tomb King has a giant golden penis."
I mean, this sounds I mean,
it has a ball sack and it has a skull head.
You're not you're not being negative about this, right? You're
no. I'm just saying that
if upside,
if all the Tomb Kings have giant golden phalluses, I would call my army.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I would say that I would call my Tomb Kings the army of the golden phallus, and have them go into battle like that.
Into battle.
And here's the other thing: why are you fielding why would they release a Tomb King that's on foot? Why would you not have a Tomb King on a giant chariot?
I've used my Tomb King on foot before. There's although actually let me take that back. The on foot model I used as Tomb Princes generally.
Yes. Yes. So it probably is a Tomb Prince. I don't know. His name could be like Naxunami.
No, it could be either because Tomb Kings there's because some Tomb Kings the reason like the lore reason the on foot thing is because some Tomb Kings like to chill with their Tomb Guard.
Yeah.
Or their archers.
Yeah. I think they should also for Tomb Kings make sure that they do a plastic bone giant because everyone likes saying bone giant.
Yes, I mean it's likely they'll do a plastic bone giant, especially because the Total War added different variants of that fucker, which are so fucking cool. It would be an easy
Steve, Games Workshop released a bunch of variants inside of a White Dwarf article. You were allowed to take a bone giant with 2-hand weapons, with a great weapon, or with a bow.
Oh, you're correct. Those were tournament legal, but they did not release models for those.
No, they never did. You always had to mod them out yourself.
Yeah, no, this is one they could actually do with actual sculpted support.
I love the Bone Giant model. It's one of my favorite models.
That's a great model.
Yes, it's
I had 3.
It's just and they're useless, but they're so cool looking.
They were actually in 6th edition. Funnily enough, there was. They actually let me beat one of the best armies in the game, which was Tzeentch Demons, because very specifically a Bone Giant had weapon skill 3. So Bone Giants. So I'm gonna get fucking deep dive nerdy. So Bone Giant's ability in 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy was every attack they did a wound with, they generated more attacks. So if you do 10 wounds, you get 10 more attacks, and it kept rolling. But the problem is the Bone Giant's weapon skill was 3. So in most cases you needed 4s to hit like tons of shit, or maybe even 5s. So like the problem is the Bone Giant would miss a lot of its attacks, so it wouldn't actually end up generating a shit ton of attacks. But Tzeentch Demons, their infantry had a weapon skill of 2, which means the Bone Giant hits them on 3s and then wounds them on 2s, which means you generate an absolute metric fuck ton of attacks. So the Tomb Kings had this very specific rock to the Tzeentch Demon Army's scissors. And it actually let me beat one of the best local players with the Tzeentch Demon Army because my Bone Giants crushed the shit out of his horrors.
Well, there you go. That is deep dive nerdy.
There you go. So I went super deep dive nerdy into that one.
More 6th edition lore. So that's old world. I'm cautiously optimistic. They did say that. Oh, we didn't talk about base size increase, which is what they talked about. They did confirm that it is
every base is bigger.
Did we talk? We did talk about this before. We did talk about it this last cast that they're increasing base size for some of the figures. We just assumed that it's the 20 mils are getting boosted to 25s, but the 25s might get boosted to some other size, like 30.
They are they said every base size is getting bigger.
Yeah, that just sounds like bullshit to me. It sounds like some Pinkerton bullshit to me.
I'm telling you, it's because they're setting it up so you can cross pollinate your Age of Sigmar armies.
I refuse to update my bases. Hello, who's there? Pinkerton agency. You have to update your bases. Oh no!
Hello, this is Dog.
This is Dog. The call was coming from inside the ass.
The call is coming from inside the ass.
So the some other things I wanted to talk about from there is probably the second release or preview that sparked my interest was that they officially said that Epic is coming. They didn't like show anything for it or anything like that, but they just kind of said like Epic is coming.
Mm.
I think that's interesting because what I think is going to happen with this, Steve, is I think they're going to finally fold in Aeronautica and Titanicus into one game so that they can release everything for that game and not have to worry about supporting Aeronautica or supporting Titanicus. They're going to have everything into one game, which is how it's going to go.
I could see it.
Some people were online were like, will I be able to use my Titanicus stuff for it? I'm like, yeah, you will. That's the reason why they're doing this. It's not like what do you think, you moron? But who knows? They could like literally be like, we're going back to the 8mm scale for Epic. And then so all of your all of the models that you have are useless at this point. I could see them doing that, but I probably not. They'll probably end up increasing the size to 12mm because people like painting 12mm. It's good to paint. It's easier to paint than 8mm. That was always my problem with Epic, was in order to make Epic look good, it was just such a crampy pain in the ass paint job. And then people are like, oh, it wasn't for me. And it's like, yeah, your models suck. That's the reason why it wasn't for you. That's always my response, was like, no, I always found it easy to paint. I was like, yeah, when you want to paint like shit, it's always going to be easy to paint. But yeah, so they're going to be releasing that, probably announce. I don't know when they'll announce it. Probably Christmas or before Christmas for a Christmas release, right?
That makes sense. That makes sense timing wise.
It'll either be Old World or Epic for Christmas release, and more than likely it's going to be Old World and Epic. Because Old World they're going to drip feed and probably going to release it next year. I don't know though, because they're getting close to a new Age of Sigmar edition, but we'll talk about that later. Because they, they're getting towards the end of the lifespan of Age of Sigmar. They're getting for the new edition. They're getting towards the end of the lifespan. It's going to be by next year. They're going to be out of army books to release for the new edition, and they're going to be looking at what's going to be happening next. And
wow. No shit.
Yeah. I told you they go so fast with those editions on those main games. It's not even worth keeping up.
Wow. Time is flying.
Time is fleeting. So they also showed two things that I really liked. The new Space Marine Heroes box set. Did you see those?
Oh yeah. They're very cool.
But did you see the box that they're releasing them in?
Oh no, I didn't.
The box is like the best part. I was like, oh, that is such a cool design for it. Those blind boxes that they sell, but I just really like the new design of the blind box. I'm like, I've been taken in by packaging. It's got Japanese on it, Steve.
Ooh,
there you go. And the new Kill Team box set that they're releasing is super cool looking. Like all of the figures in there, I am in love with. They all look like figures from Inquisitor. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They all look like figures that you'd get in the old 54mm Inquisitor box set. And I love it. Absolutely. They even have the guy with the guardsman with like the weird head and the glaive thing. I was so in love with the fact that they included a figure that looks like that in there. It's Ashes of Faith is what it's called. And even the chaos stuff looks okay. I'm not huge on that style of chaos stuff, but I could see people who really like it. But man, that Inquisitor retinue, I am all about 100%. So I may pick that up just for the retinue. Maybe.
Is that cool?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. They release so many of those goddamn box sets.
They do.
I swear.
They do.
All right. Do we have anything else that we haven't covered?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Because I can always talk about more Star Trek stuff. This morning I woke up and before my family did, and I was having my coffee, watching some YouTube on the TV, and I was watching a Star Trek thing about Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise. And my wife came in and she's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "This thing about Enterprise." I go, there's a this is the first Star Trek to like feature a dog, and it was a beagle because I myself own a beagle. And as soon as I said that, they showed Porthos, and I was very excited about that.
That's awesome.
Which also is funny because I had a orange tabby cat too. He recently passed, but you know they show you got Spot as well. So
That's great.
yes. I had both Star Trek animals that have been prominently featured. I don't think there have been other prominently featured Star Trek animals. Am I correct?
There. I mean, I guess like there's been like memorable ones, but I wouldn't say featured.
Yeah, I mean, like Spot and Porthos were like featured animal performers, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, even though Spot was kind of like forgot about every once in a while. Like, was Spot on the Enterprise D when it crash landed on that planet? did they kill Spot? Or was Spot dead by then? I don't know what the hell's going on. Or did they stop allowing animals in after the Dominion War? What's going on?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah. Also, I did find out a bit of trivia about the Enterprise. Do you know what NCC stands for?
North Carolina construction.
No. It stands for like naval something contract in the sea. Like, I was listening to it this morning. But it was like naval Craftos, something like that. Here we go. I'm pulling it up right. Navy Curtis Craft, because I guess Curtis was a company in the future that helps design the Star Trek ships.
Huh. Okay.
And I had no idea about any of that.
Yeah, same. I had no clue.
Yes. And NX for the Enterprise stood for Naval Experiment. Yes. Some people were saying it was Naval Construction Code. It is not. It's Naval Curtis Craft.
There you go.
Well, and the reason why Gene wanted it to be NCC as opposed to USS is because there was no like
there was no United States.
There was no United States. There was it. So he wanted, but NC was usually meant for non-commissioned.
Okay.
So it was like a non-actual military craft. They didn't want them to be military crafts.
Right.
Yeah. And here's another question for you. How many ships do you think there are in Starfleet? Let's say in the Picard era.
Like capital ships, like the Enterprise level?
Yeah, let's say like Starfleet capital class ships. I like how you say capital ships, like we're playing fucking Gothic.
Yeah. I don't know.
No idea, right?
150.
150. Okay, no. There are 10,000 ships in Starfleet, right?
Okay.
This kind of bothered me a little bit because you think about it, it's like we're the future, right? 300 years in the future. This is Starfleet is this massive organization. 10,000 ships is a lot of ships, but you figure there's only like maybe 100 to 200 people on each of those ships. That's maybe about 1 million people in Starfleet. That does not seem a lot to monitor the galaxy as they know it, like the Alpha and Beta quadrants.
I thought the bigger ships had like a fuck ton of people on them.
No, I think the Enterprise only had like 400 max, and then Enterprise was like one of the bigger ships.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was way bigger.
No, it's always a scale of numbers. Like if I'm going to write a sci-fi book at some point in my life, I want to make sure I get the numbers correct, because like let's say there's 1 million people in Starfleet. How many people are in the Federation? There's got to be like trillions at this point, right?
Oh, there's got to be a ludicrous amount of people in the Federation.
Yeah, and we only have 1 million people in Starfleet. That's an incredibly small number, but I guess that makes sense because only the best of the best is supposed to go to Starfleet.
That is true.
But they did take Wesley Crusher.
Well, he had that special ability called product of a writer's strike, so
which is going on right now. Should we be recording? Well, none of our material is actually planned and or written, so I guess it's not technically writing.
Yeah, we're ad-libbed, so
it's not even ad-libbed. We're just kind of talking out of our ass.
Yeah, or ass-libbed.
Ass-libbed. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah,
because those libs are ass.
Ha ha!
Take that. Anyway, I'm going to be interviewing for Tucker Carlson's position later on today.
You know what? You're only talking about Starfleet members on ships, because there's an absolute metric fuckload of Starfleet like buildings. Like there's the Starfleet, like research facilities, the schools, the blah blah blah. There's a shit ton of like
you're right,
there's
and like star bases and
star bases. Yeah, there's a fuck ton of like logistical people in Starfleet as well.
Yeah.
So actually,
nerds.
Yeah, so actually 1 million, like, I mean, basically, like, that being the percentage of, like, quote unquote active troops, I guess I would say, is actually probably pretty accurate.
Starship personnel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because I guess you're right. I did forget about star bases because those star bases are ginormous.
Yeah,
so they probably
huge.
have several thousand people on board.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to be on a ship or a starbase?
Oh, it's starbase for sure.
You'd be a starbase guy?
I'd absolutely be a starbase guy.
Yeah, you'd be on You'd be on Deep Space Nine drinking your Rakugino?
Dude, that would fuck yeah. It would be hanging out. I'd be hanging out at Quark's playing some fucking Dabo.
Oh, you can't play the Dabo. I don't think Starfleet officers are allowed to play Dabo.
No, Jadzia plays Dabo several times.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, she does. Because you can do it with your own. If you have your own Latinum, you can do whatever you can do what you want with it. So
okay. Because I would think that Starfleet would not allow their personnel to play Dabo. I seem like that would be a bad idea. Like that you could get into hock with some people and get in trouble. It's kind of like if you're in the CIA, they don't want you gambling.
Well, it might be one of those things where they're just like, you can do it at your own risk kind of thing.
I guess. I just see that like many things would be coming in. You never want to get into a Ferengi's pocket.
That's true. So never bet more than you got.
Yeah, but I mean, gamblers it's an addiction. You're going to have a problem with that. I have issues. I'm going to go talk with Rick Berman.
Rick Berman. Talk about crawling into a giant vagina.
I have questions for Rick Berman
and his giantess fetish.
And his yes, absolutely, his giantess fetish.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Tess.
No, not giant Tess. Giantess.
I thought you were talking about Tess from Voyager.
No. No, although was there ever an episode where she was gigantic? Because if so, that's Rick Berman.
No, I don't. Well, not that I remember because I block out most of Voyager because I think it's terrible.
I love Voyager.
I know you love Voyager.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's the fast food of the franchise.
Yeah, and you know what?
It's not good for you, but it tastes great.
Why would I want to have fast food when I can have prime rib, aka Deep Space Nine?
You're
in that planet where they go with all the Irish people. You know what? Thinking back on it, they should have made O'Brien from that crazy Irish people that just wanted to have sex. Like he should have been from that planet.
That would be awesome.
It'd just be like, "Hi, I'm Miles O'Brien. I was dancing out." Yes. I don't think we have any Irish listeners, so I think we're okay.
Well, if we do, George Blargan.
Yes. His name is Patty, Patty McDrinks a lot. And he was written for Star Trek in the writer's strike. All right. You go to the Game Classy Facebook page. It's the best way you can get in contact with us. There you can find the link for our Discord channel, which is actually the best place where we actually, interact with our fans. And then Steve has to explain why he has such bad taste in music. And we really don't have to explain that because he's Steve and he's a gamer. So automatically bad taste in music.
My music taste is impeccable.
Impeccably. I like synthwave and anime intros.
I mean, I do like those things, but I don't exclusively like those things. See, you missed that. You had to say I only like. Okay. And I am not an I only like.
Yes. I just like everything except rap and country. That's the other thing I absolutely hate hearing.
There's so much, but I don't know. It's so stupid. Like there's so much good rap out there. Like you might not insert I mean, I can understand saying you don't like country now because you don't like fucking pop. Yeah. It's not about liking the genre.
No. Steve, I don't like rap and country is a dog whistle.
Oh.
Yeah. That means I don't like black people and I don't like rednecks. It's a very elitist kind of racist thing to say.
I see.
Yeah. All right. Then you could the best way you can help out the podcast is subscribe on the iTunes, and you could also comment and subscribe on the YouTubes where I post for some reason, which I don't really understand. But people sometimes every once in a while go there and they listen to the podcast on the YouTube.
Yeah.
So what else? Oh yeah, if you want to get in contact with me outside of that, you could follow me on the Instagram where I'm Game Classy Joe. Steve is still banned from all major platforms for threatening political figures. So Steve, until next cast.
I don't know. I was trying to think of something clever, but for some reason my brain just keeps spiraling this drain, and I keep coming back to the fucking Billy and the Clonosaurus bit from Simpsons.
Billy and the Clonosaurus.
This is the worst idea I've ever heard. It's already been done.
I wanna leave you guys with this, and I heard this on another podcast somewhere, is that Star Trek Picard actually was a Riker fantasy because the two women who he had the most issues with throughout his run were killed in that show. Elizabeth Shelby and Ro Laren, both killed. Both hated Riker. So there you go.
That's great.
Riker must have been very happy. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Game Classy.